minority people, what they blame that we were rulers once upon time. So 1947 to till date, both nations, both countries, they are having a suspicious as well as they are having a set narratives to counter to each other. Most of the time, political leaders in Pakistan, they thought that we can take a revenge against India.
Is it also a politically driven case in Pakistan where these things Pakistan keeps on doing onto us?
This is the country which born in the name of religion, but not maintaining the peace and stability. You cannot change the neighbors, but they should be in a political. They should have a political stability. I'm very sorry to say, but Bangladesh is going to another serious issue. That would be a third front is going to open against India. This is the first kind of operation where you can see there is a coordination.
Correct. Now, Operation Sindoor, if you compare it to the previous responses, how do you look at Operation Sindoor in terms of effectiveness compared to the previous two responses that we gave to Pakistan?
Country like US and others, they were not involved in that, and we gave a message to the global community that how Pakistan is involved through the non-state actor. So what we need, if you are looking at to bypass international community, it needs to have it that security architecture where you can grab the opportunity and set up a new institution, but that's not possible.
So welcome to episode 16 of Dr. AB's Podium. Today is a very special episode for me because I will be speaking on Operation Sindoor. The reason that I have chosen this topic today, especially after most of the operation has already happened, and we have also seen a lot of coverage about the operation and the news reports, the information that was passed on various media platforms. We have been seeing that for so many days. But the reason that I am taking this topic up today is because जब आप पीछे मुड़ के देखते हो when you look back in retrospective as to what has happened, a lot of times we understand the realities. We try to understand the implications that could have been there of certain actions. We try to understand these actions very peacefully and very calmly, because जब वो चीज़ें हो रही होती है, there's a lot of information that comes to us. But especially after that information is gone, what remains is the facts, what remains is the realities, and then we are able to understand and analyze all this information very clearly and very objectively. To discuss on this topic today, I have Dr. Vijay Khare with me. Dr. Vijay Khare is a senior professor and head of the Department of Defense and Strategic Studies at Savitribai Phule Pune University. He also is the Faculty of Humanities and Director of the International Center. Dr. Khare was selected for the United Nations short course on hologrammatic terrorism in the United Nations, Interregional Crime and Justice Research Institute, University of Rome, Italy. He completed an executive leadership program and advanced mediation and peacemaking program at University of London, UK. His contribution to the Department of Defense and Strategic Studies includes a new 5-year program, which was called as the MA MSc course in National Security Studies, which was introduced by him, which was the first ever attempt in India. He also introduced an MA in Global Peace, Security and Strategic Studies and 9 various postgraduate diplomas in Defense and Strategic Studies in the Pune University. Considering his dedication to the department, the Pune University conferred the Best Department Award 2019 to him, to his Department of Defense and Strategic Studies. So welcome, sir. First of all, thank you so much for coming on my episode today. It's an honor. And I have seen a lot of your interviews on various news channels, and I am certain my audiences will agree with this after watching the episode that you are truly an authority to speak on this particular topic. The Pahalgam attacks was a very sad thing that happened. It is one of the repeated attacks that Pakistan has been doing on us. Whether it is 26/11 attacks, then later the Pulwama attack, the Uri attacks, or now the attack that has happened in Pahalgam. 1971, 1947, when both the partitions happened. 1947 was when we separated from Pakistan. 1971 was when the West and the East Pakistan broke, and we were in between as a nation which was standing between them. How have tensions escalated since then, or how has this distrust come into shape, and So I'm discussing this because that has to set a tone for the background of what is exactly happening between these two nations.
1947 partition and 1971 partition of East Pakistan, particularly new state emerged from East Pakistan, that has shaped and distress in South Asia. Particularly in 1947, there are more than around 20 million people displaced from both sides, and 2 million people killed due to the partition. And when it has happened in 1947 war, again we had a war with Pakistan 1947-48.
48.
So hurriedly we did it arbitrarily, drawing the line, particularly ceasefire and other things. So especially in Kashmir, that has the root, roots between the India and Pakistan, and both were from deep suspicious from beginning, and both started negative narratives. Now, deep suspicious and negative narrative based on there was strategic. We cannot say it is a strategic thinking, but there is a crisis, and this crisis is not a piece of land. So most of the then that generation and even young generation, they are looking this issue in a very differently, and needs to understand that psyche of the people. Minority people, what they blames, they are using that psyche that we were rulers once upon time. Centuries we ruled this population.
Correct.
And now we are in a minority. And majority of the people now, they said that now we were under this regime, now it is time we rule the. So this is the real crisis between India and Pakistan, and that has led from 47-48 war, 65 war, 71 war with Kargil conflict, then recently Operation Sindoor. So this is a one important aspect we need to understand, that at the same time both are deep suspicious to each other in the name of religion, in the name of development. And look at that strategic security environment that time. Means after 45, when US dropped a nuclear bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, world was divided in two parts. One capitalistic US-led democratic structure, one was on Soviet Union. And Indian government that time started a new approach towards the not join with any group of major power,
Right.
neither with US nor with the former Soviet Union. But at the same time, that was a time it was started a nuclear debate where relevance of nuclear weapons. And we had, after 71 war, when became a regional power in South Asia, we conducted a first nuclear test in 1974, and that was the slogan we used that call as a Buddha is smiling. Later on, we maintained that peace and stability in that region, and then we again 1998 we had a nuclear test, 5 nuclear tests.
Correct.
And counter that, Pakistan also conducted a nuclear. So 1947 to till date, both nations, both countries, they are having a suspicious as well as they are having a set narratives to counter to each other with the military capability while conducting a nuclear test, and that leads the number of issues between India and Pakistan. Then second is the threat perception. Now when we nation building process started, that time we considered that India, Pakistan is our neighboring country. We tried to maintain regional stability, and we thought that one hand we will maintain a strategic partnership with Pakistan, other hand we also have maintained a strategic partnership with China when we had a Panchashila agreement in 1954 with China. Unfortunately, both states, China and Pakistan, they countered when we had a Panchashila agreement. Then again in 1959, we gave it political asylum to the Dalai Lama. And then as a reaction, what we got it, we had a war with China in 1962 war. And then again, to Pakistan realized that India is defeated in 1962
Correct.
war with China.
Correct.
So she attacked on 1965 and 65 war again it has. Then we slowly we shifted our defense and development plan. So we thought that defense and development both two sides of one coin, and then we restructured our spending on defense forces, and we started a 5-year plan on defense expenditure. And at the result, we gave a message to the world community and regional community in 1971 war, and 74 when we conducted a nuclear test that has given a regional as well as a global emerging power with the military capability, with economic capability. And this also leads, that time I said military alliances. We are not joined with any regional or military alliances. We were part of that, but later on we said that our stand on Panchashil, or stand on non-alignment movement. And present security environment also, again, if you look at the, we are not any NATO. Some argument is coming that the India should set up a new kind of NATO to counter but we are saying not, we are maintaining a strategic balance when relations come with Russia as well as Iran as well as US or China. Take example of when US is pressurizing us, don't take oil from Iran and Russia. We are maintaining a strategic balance. We are also getting oil from Iran. We are maintaining a strategic partnership with Iran. We are maintaining a strategic partnership with Russia. So that is called the strategic autonomy we are maintaining, and that's why country like Pakistan, to deal with Pakistan, it's a really critical issue. In an Operation Sindoor, the way you look at it, that Operation Sindoor, in fact, look at the last 400 years modern military history, or 200 modern.
Correct.
This is, we ended with the 2.5 days. But that reason is that a revolution technology.
Correct.
You cannot link what we had in earlier, but the revolution technology changes the nature of warfare, and this modern warfare, particularly drone warfare, you can call it, is the drone technology played a very important role.
Correct.
And the first time when we started destroy the bases, strategic bases, particularly terrorist bases,
Precision
that time
attacks.
so we used suicide drones, and that gave it ultimate result in that. So in short, what I'm saying that 1947 to 1971, this is the real crux.
Correct.
This is the mindset, suspicious to each other. Then the nuclear competition as well as the communal issues, and again the communal issue also deal with the political synod. And that's why both countries, whenever use some kind of issues, some extent the political institution also involved in that, and that's why we need to understand very differently when we talk with the Pakistan.
Right. 1999, when the Kargil War happened, how has Kargil War taught us lessons in terms of diplomacy? How diplomacy has changed after that? Because that is again viewed as one of the most, that is one of the most remarkable moments in the entire defense history that the country has. So how has that taught us lessons on diplomacy?
Let me first, before we'll going into that, one 71 mindset, 71 word mindset. Most of the time, political leaders in Pakistan, they thought that we can take a revenge against India.
Oh.
That is their mindset.
Correct.
And it is not possible for them anyhow, in terms of considering our military capability, considering our economic capability. But she tried to the non-state actors. And non-state actors use the technology in a such way. When you talk about terrorism, definition of terrorism is very differently, and action is very differently. I'll give an example. In Pune itself, we had a Pune bakery blast,
German
bakery blast.
Yeah.
So in that blast, local people, local action. The person who was involved is from Marathwada.
Okay.
That in the Indian ones. This was local action,
Okay.
local people, local action, but global reaction. Why? The nature of terrorism has been changing with the use of accuracy, time, space, and revolutionary technology changing its nature of the activity in the field of terrorism. And that's why this new concept called hologrammatic terrorism, where time, speed, and accuracy is very important. And that's why the reason you look at the 9/11 or 26/11 here in Mumbai, you will find that this is a asymmetric war. The group, the military capability having growing, but US, take example of US, but the 10, 15 terrorists, they changed the mindset entire global community, how they were success to destroy the Twin Towers. So this is the nature of terrorism. And when you talked about this 71 wars, 47 wars, 65 war with Pakistan, she understood that particularly it's not possible for Pakistan to directly deal with Indian population without having a nuclear capability. And that's why
Correct.
in a present time, nuclear blackmail has not happened. But in future, it would be possible because definitely with the help of China, she will come out with a different strategy to counter India's military capability. But in a Kargil war, when you talked about the Kargil war, this is a very important issue when we talk about Kargil. Particularly in Kargil, what we did it, the brinkmanship, the theory, during Cold War period, most of the time we used the theory of deterrence,
Correct.
brinkmanship, Cuban Missile Crisis. Basically, brinkmanship and diplomacy played a very important role. Is to deter to enemy, then use the diplomacy. And in that case, where Kargil war, we can look at in a very different perspective. Before Kargil war, we had a Lahore Declaration. And we tried to have a good strategic partnership with Pakistan.
Right.
But within a short span of time, Pervez Musharraf and his company used that action, and ultimately Kargil war happened. But in that Kargil war, most of the strategic the kind of strategic reaction we counter with the strategic things with Pakistan, that is very important. It means the two things has happened. We have maintained our strategic balance. We have we maintain global support. US, country like US and other, they were not involved in that, and we gave a message to the global community that how Pakistan is involved through the non-state actor, and it is globally. But after Kargil war, what we did it, the government of India set up a Kargil review committee.
Correct.
And then in a Kargil review committee, whatever recommendation is given, on that recommendation we reforms our defense mechanism to counter with the Chinese threat perception or Pakistan threat perception. So we have set up a border management group, then the other intelligence management group, and that has helped. And even in Operation Sindoor, before we started the Operation Sindoor, we gather all information, we analyze that information, and then we use weapons against the Pakistan.
Correct.
So that is the role of intelligence is very important, where command, control, communication, intelligence system, surveillance system, they integrated in a such way where armed forces, the Army, Navy, Air Force, played a very important role. And this is first kind of operation where you can see there is a coordination.
Correct.
So this is the history. So the Kargil, we got a lesson, and then we set up a new mechanism to counter the threat perception with Pakistan as well as even in China.
Right. You mentioned about Pervez Musharraf coming into power and then the attack that happened after that, the war that happened after that. Pakistan has always had that history where prime ministers could never complete 5 years of their tenure, elected prime ministers, so to say, and it has always been a case where maybe 3 years, 4 years down the line, I was reading somewhere that Nawaz Sharif, the combined tenure that he completed was about 9.5 years, but it was never at one stretch. These prime ministers have always been dethroned by the military establishment or the army of Pakistan. So always there's been a condition where somebody who has come into power from the Pakistani army and taking control over there as a dictator. So it could be Pervez Musharraf, it could be the earlier generals, or now even when Asim Munir has been now given the title of Field Marshal. So I think is it something where apart from religion being taken as one of the basis to inflict terrorism on India, is it also a politically driven case in Pakistan where these things Pakistan keeps on doing onto us?
Look at the Pakistan last 75 years journey. They have not a permanent or proper constitution.
Right. Right.
So more than 3 times they have changed their constitution. More than three time or three full time military rulers came in power.
Correct.
So this is the country which born in the name of religion, but not maintaining the peace and stability. And at the same time, if you look at the structure of Pakistan army, most of the officers and most of the army people controlled by the Punjab province.
Correct. Correct.
And they are dominating.
Right.
So there's a proper connection. So it is very difficult for Pakistan. Why conflict is coming from Baluchistan, Sindh province, because this is a region, and that's why the political stability is not happening, because the culture and the kind of what we need for political. You need to have a good democratic institution.
Correct.
You need to have a good academic institution. Last 75 years, you tell me what is new innovative thing Pakistan produced?
Nothing.
Apart from religious practice, there's nothing. But just you tell me that most of their military arsenals coming from China, earlier US support,
Correct.
and now Turkey and other countries are supporting. So country, when you want to become a regional power and major power at a global security environment, you need to have a proper innovative ideas, innovative thinking, democratic setup, inclusive development. But that is the main cause of Pakistan is not playing important role in that way to maintain a political stability, and that leads a crisis not only for Pakistan but that is the impact on India's security environment. Ultimately, you're in neighboring countries, you cannot change the neighbors, but they should be they should have a political stability.
Correct.
If they have a political stability, then it has an impact on your development. Take example of US. There is no neighboring threat,
Right.
because the strategic location.
Right.
It's surrounded with no neighbors, it's just the kind of, and because of that, she developed in a such way with the military capabilities or economic capability. But for us, so in a 75 years, we had 4 war with Pakistan, 1 war with China. And we don't know when third front is going to come up from the Bangladesh. I'm very sorry to say, but Bangladesh is going to another serious issue. That would be a third front is going to open against India. The way development taking place in Bangladesh. The Bangladesh we supported in 71.
Correct.
But the same people now is countering against us. Take example, even in Nepal. Even Nepal is most of the Chinese intervention in Nepal, Chinese intervention in Sri Lanka, somehow narratives is going to change, and that leads to a regional security issue. And if your neighboring state are not in your favor, that time you have to have an alert, and most of the time you are putting your energy to maintain a regional stability.
West Pakistan, earlier known as West Pakistan and East Pakistan, which is now known as Bangladesh. Though there is a huge landmass of India between them, these countries, somehow they always felt that they are connected. That connection we were able to disrupt in 1971 war. Do you think that same connection is happening there today? Since you spoke about the way the third front of Bangladesh is now coming up, is that connection again being revived in some way or the other?
See, how you set the narratives. If you are religion putting in a center and connecting the people, probably they might, there is a possibility to they come together.
Correct.
Religion. But in institutional wise, it's not possible. Because no one want to lose their autonomy.
Correct.
No one want to lose their, and that's the reason, no one coming support to the Pakistan in that way. Religions wise, okay. Somehow they can link to each other. But institution wise, it's not possible. That's but you cannot rely on them that they cannot come together. So
that possibility always
possibilities are.
Correct. Sir, you spoke about the role of Army, Navy and the Air Force. One of the most important players, which is the Indian Navy. I think Indian Navy is one of the strongest pillars that has played a very important role in Operation Sindoor. If you could just highlight a little bit on the role of the Indian Navy in this.
Officially, Government of India has not declared what role
Correct.
Indian Navy played in Operation Sindoor, but we have that capability to show. We demonstrated a blue water Navy capability. So we have 2 aircraft carriers, INS Vikrant and Vira, and that has the capacity to load nuclear weapons and destroy the enemy's areas.
Correct.
And Chinese, forget about the Pakistan, but even in Chinese around they have 6 aircraft carriers. The beauty of the aircraft carriers that the role of aircraft carriers is very important, and we are indigenous. Although we took technology from other countries, but we claim it's an indigenous aircraft carrier.
Yes.
Why China is not involved in any future war with India in coming years? China is waiting up to 2030. She has not tested her military capability from long, more than the 30 years. She has not she's been trying to using and showing muscles to others, but not actively involved in a war with anyone. And she's not in a hurry to involve in a war, and that's why she kept silence during the Operation Sindoor. So because the technology is not tested, and neither she is countering with US nor with us, and we are far ahead because we tested our technology several times, and we have a very good strike rate in terms of showing our blue water Navy capability. So in terms of naval capability, we are far ahead than Pakistan. What is our objective? To sign a Quad agreement. It's not a agreement. It's basically we are. It's not a military bloc, but we wanted to maintain a stability and counter Chinese hegemony in Indian Ocean. Correct. As well as the Pacific Ocean. Right. And that's why. And US wanted to counter China through India while signing the Quad agreement. Where Japan, Australia, US, and India, they are the major player. Correct. But we said that we will not join any military alliance with you, but we will maintain this Indo-Pacific area would be one of the peaceful zone, and we can share information. And that's why we had an agreement with 10 Eyes, where most developed countries share their information, intelligence to each other, including Australia, UK, Japan, US, France. So these are the 10 Eyes countries. We share the information in terms of what's happening across the Indian Ocean, Pacific Ocean. So naval capability, we have that capability to counter Pakistan as well as in China through the Quad. But again, we are not militarize the area. That's very important.
Right. India is now known to respond. We have been responding. We have responded during the, we responded in Balakot, we did the surgical strikes, and now we did the Operation Sindoor. Now, Operation Sindoor, if you compare it to the previous responses, how do you look at Operation Sindoor in terms of effectiveness compared to the previous 2 responses that we gave to Pakistan?
See, in 2016, when we did it surgical strike, that was operation used by Indian Armed Forces. It is a land-based operation. We launched it that, and we targeted terrorist places. Then in Balakot, we used Air Force and targeted in mainland in Pakistan. Okay, this is a difference. And this time, without crossing international border, but we destroy the strategic bases inside the Pakistan. So this is three way where surgical strike, post operation or Balakot or Operation Balakot after the Pulwama, and Operation Sindoor. These are the three very different so Pak occupied Kashmir, we in a surgical strike we did it. Then we entered inside in Balakot. Then this Operation Sindoor, we used we coordinated our operation in a such way with the help of Army, Navy, Air Force, and hit the strategic bases. And within a short span of time, we did it that operation with we call it Operation Sindoor. But again, here in Operation Sindoor, when we started, our slogan was clear message to the global community: this operation is not of the Pakistan; it is against the terror. So war against terror, or it's an operation against the terror. So that message is given, and it will be continued. But what is here important here, although we carried out this operation, but Pakistan is not trustworthy. We cannot say that now after this cannot happen. Correct. So this may be another different way. And in the name of Lashkar Taiba, new organization will come. In the name of Hazrat Mujahideen, then it will be new. So that way, our threat perception is pursuing will continue with Pakistan in a different way. So we need to understand that psyche, and that's why it's very important to maintain one hand a military capability as well as to have a track diplomacy, or you can say that we call it as a confidence building measures that has to needed to two-way track.
Correct.
Is not only focusing on military capability, but at the same time to engage Pakistan.
Correct.
Engaging a Pakistan is also important here.
Right.
So, but how it is engaged, that is again question mark. There is a set procedure, but we'll talk to that later.
Yes. Operation Sindoor is also, we have seen on the news, we've seen on various media platforms. A lot of coverage has been given about Operation Sindoor. Can you highlight some very key tactical elements that were there in this operation, and how these tactical elements made it a very effective operation against terrorism in Pakistan?
Operation Sindoor, I said, is very important in terms of tactical elements. One is that we gave it a clear message to the global community,
right,
that water and blood is not going together. We gave it message to the global community that terrorism and the dialogue cannot continue. We gave it a message to the global community that cross-border terrorism cannot be tolerated. And fourth important aspect is the nuclear blackmailing cannot be tolerated. This is the tactical strategy. Technically, what technology used that we cannot while sitting here we cannot. But strategically,
yes,
how government of India set up the narration to global community that nuclear blackmailing. Now here you can see in a nuclear blackmailing. From 1998 to till date, means when 26/11 happened, government of India were ready to use the military action against Pakistan. But again, because of the nuclear balance, and that time the security environment was not in our favor, we tried to counter in a different way. But this time, having another pressures, but we used our technology, integrated technology against in Operation Sindoor, and gave a lesson to Pakistan. But what I am feeling here, I said earlier, we cannot rely on Pakistan. Now, just recently, after post Sindoor, the Pakistan Prime Minister is going in Turkey, Azerbaijan, and other places. Even in China, he is planning. he is regrouping of the all countries, and he will focus on how to counter India through the nuclear weapons, and that would be a real challenge for us.
Okay. How has Operation Sindoor impacted the diplomatic ties between India and Pakistan? One. And if this impact has happened, how do we actually negate this impact? Or how do we, because you mentioned about on one side you need to have a military side open. But at the same time, to balance it out, somewhere you also need to have a diplomatic channel also open. So how has this affected?
What post Operation Sindoor, government of India is doing different exercise. The first time it bypassed the diplomats and representative from Parliament. They are visiting different places.
Right.
This is one side is good because you need to give a right story to the global community.
Correct.
That's one side. Other side here, government of India is trying to it tried that United Nations look at before Operation Sindoor when we that event had a meeting Security Council because the Pakistan is a non-permanent member in Security Council for 2 years and her tenure is going to finish in 2006. So she put up one resolution that how government of India is involved in that, but hardly any response got. It means we had a standard or we can have a such kind of legacy to maintain a peace and stability and global communities. So there is no interaction in United Nations.
Correct.
So there is a diplomatic win. Second here, role of UAE and US. And a lot of people talks about UAE, what is the role of UAE. But somehow role of UAE is very important now because ultimately it represents large number of Muslim population in UAE. So government of India maintaining a balance. And third important is the US. Now third party mediation. Most of the people are talking about third party mediation. But in third party mediation, somehow we say that third party mediation, but it is a set procedure. And look at the Indus Water Treaty in 60. That was a treaty came into existence through the mediation of the World Bank.
Right.
And any strategic issues, you need to have a dialogue with someone. But it doesn't mean that you are losing your sovereignty, you are losing with some kind of. So there is an involvement in a diplomatic way with the UAE, US, United Nations, and this involvement has a very important role to maintaining a regional stability in South Asia. You cannot say that someone is not directly involved in that. This is the involvement, but it doesn't mean that India is losing its own strategic autonomy. We are maintaining a strategic autonomy. And this strategic autonomy, when you say strategic autonomy, we are not aligned anyone. We have, as I said earlier, we are maintaining our strategic autonomy in our condition. And that condition is that we are talking about Atmanirbhar.
Correct.
We are talking about self-reliant, and that way we are maintaining a strategic autonomy. So post Sindoor, whatever global community says, but while what they said, apart from that, we are maintaining our strategic autonomy from beginning. I said earlier, non-alignment to multi-alignment, and that multi-alignment on our conditions.
Correct.
So this is very important.
Sir, when the 9/11 attacks happened, America almost for 10 years plus, they chased Osama bin Laden. There were multiple attacks that happened in Afghanistan and then in Pakistan and then finally in Abbottabad where he was killed. I recently watched a documentary also on that on Netflix.
Netflix.
And again, there was another movie also which had come long back. Now, America has taken this step in retaliating or in responding to an attack that happened on their soil. When we do it in form of Operation Sindoor, why is that so much of hue and cry that America makes about it? I am asking this question because of what Trump, the reaction that he gave that time. And he supposedly, took all the credit of, making peace between the two nations and this thing happened. So why is it, that the international community or America especially takes this kind of a stand when India, which has all the right to respond against any terror attack that happens on the soil, we have all the right to respond. Then why is it that this happens?
You all aware about when we had issue of human in internal security issues, and when we use military operation, the huge cry in even American institution where India is violating human rights. And with that, we gave it number of examples to the US institutions and think tanks. Look how non-state actors is a threat to our national security.
Correct.
But that time no one has listened, And when they had 9/11, then they realized and they come out with the slogan, war against terror. And then they use such kind of, and in the name of war against terror, take example of Operation Israel versus Gaza issue.
Right.
So where is it human rights issue? Now they are treating the people as a terrorist and they're killing. But when we country like us, when we said it, that the global, particular Western mindset, they use such kind of narration. But now she realized, US is realized that it is really war against terror, and no one talks about the human rights. So in that way, we succeeded in that.
Right. Lot of misinformation, lot of extra information, unwanted information flew on media, not just during Operation Sindoor, but even in the previous operations as well. How does this kind of misinformation and everything affect the entire operation or the correct narrative that should come in front of people or in front of the global community?
Unfortunately, as a media trial is everywhere, very few academician talks has that kind of in-depth study about the issue. But unfortunately, they are not a part in second channel deployment in a process of the in this issue. Their survival is in their market, and the competition is to each other. As long as you give a negative information, they cannot get a good. So that is the. But apart from that, Government of India, what she did she involved with the former bureaucrats, member of parliament. But there is one again missing link there. They should involve, Government of India should involve some academicians, to visit other places, have a dialogue with them, so they can be better, instead of sending, this is good that they are sending the member of parliament, but with them some of the teaching community, those who spent 30 years, 20 years in their academic career, who are dealing with these issues, strategic issues or international relation issues, they should be part of that. That's not happening in terms of capacity building. So we need to develop that capacity, and this capacity building process can only come through the education. So we need to, if you want to change the mindset of media, need to develop a young generation capacity building through this process. That is the ultimate solution, sir.
Sir, India has not been a part of any alliance, like you rightly said, in all these years. There is always this one allegation that is happening onto us that in spite of all the information that we gave in public on news, the authentic information that we presented, this time in fact we didn't have to give any proofs. There were a lot of proofs that were coming from Pakistan itself of the the strikes that happened over there. There were videos coming from there itself, so there was no need of any proof that we had to give from our end. However, there has still been a lot of allegation that happens on us that the countries that we consider our friends are not actually actively standing with us. A, is it real? And B, if it is real, then by not being a part of any alliance, can this be changed if India becomes a part of any alliance in future?
This is very unfortunate. In fact, in Operation Sindoor, and during that, very few countries come forward and take a stand. And we also said that it is not a war.
Correct.
It is a war against terror.
Correct.
So the global community realized that it's a low intensity conflict. So it is a conflict between India and Pakistan. It is a low intensity side, and it should not convert in a mid intensity or high intensity.
Right.
So it not converted into mid intensity conflict by the time it has stopped. So hardly any time to get a response from global community. That's one.
Right.
Second, what is important here, take example of G20. You know, last year we had a G20 meetings and last year means 23.
Correct.
And we became a voice of global south. Okay, in G20. In United Nations, we are continuously saying that need to reform the Security Council. Then Shanghai Cooperation, we are talking about regional stability. But unfortunately, take example of First World War. After First World War, victory state set up a League of Nations, and all victory state become a part of League of Nations. After Second World War, United States and victory state become a permanent member in Security Council. And why US is dominating global security architecture? Reason is that all international institutions, particularly World Bank, International Monetary Fund, and then the other organ of United Nations headquarters located in Washington and other places, New York and other places. So whatever things happen is focus is US. In contrast that we may say that we are the major power in South Asia, but where is our headquarters? SAARC headquarters is not with us.
Right.
SCO headquarters is not with us. Then regional organization, you name it, is not with us. So where is our? So what we need, if you are looking at to bypass international community, it needs to have it that security architecture where you can grab the opportunity and set up a new institution. But that's not possible, because why Japan, why United Nations using veto power in UN? Because Japan, Germany and US, the largest financer to run the United Nations.
Correct.
And when we ask that we have largest democracy, then they are asking what is your financial contribution. And we said that we are a large number of international peacekeeper forces we are contributing. They are saying you are getting thrice more than your salary of yours. So this is the dynamics, international dynamics. So in a global security architecture now, what we need to reshape and rebuild our strategic capability, but at the same time we have to balance with the multipolar world.
Correct.
We have to manage with the Russia, you have to manage with China, you have to manage with UK, you have to manage with the US, European Union, and different issues. For example, recently we had an agreement with free trade with UK. Now we are signing a free trade, going to sign with the European Union. The talk is going on. The moment you sign a free trade with European Union, there will be a pressure from US that in a different way. The moment you take oil from Russia or China, or Russia or Iran, there will be pressures. So these are the issues interlinked, and that's why a country like India, where we have to sustain 140 crore population in all way, and any across the globe, no one is in everything is Hajang. This is an interdependent world. So if you have a good natural resources, you don't find a manpower. If you have good manpower, you don't find a critical technology. So it is an interdependent world. So in an interdependent world, in the globalized world, what we need to develop a good strategic partnership with your neighboring country, with the balance, maintain a strategic autonomy and maintain a balanced policy. That is the only solution.
Right. So any war. Now today, what we saw in case of Operation Sindoor was an operation. It was a response to a terrorist attack that happened on us. But when we use the word war, the word war is a very huge responsibility. There's a lot of implication that happen economically. There's a lot of implication that happen in multiple ways, in geopolitical ways. What is that difference, key difference between an operation and a war? This we need to understand, because on social media everybody talks about a war. Let's go a full-blown war. But how will that full-blown war actually affect us as a nation of 145 crore people? How will that entirely affect us?
See, military operation is different than war. That's ultimately, military operation, any operation have a set agenda that we need to X, Y, Z. And if you finish that X, Y, Z agenda, then the operation can stop.
Correct.
Whereas a war, that has different dimensions. It is effect on economy, it's effect on the strategic issues, it's effect on trade, it's effect on other things. But operation and war, where entire country involved in that, armed forces involved in that. Now, when you control conflict in a limited area, that is a limited conflict. When that conflict convert in a higher area, that is a mid-intensity. And then when mid-intensity conflict convert in a high intensity, then we call it as a war. So this is a slight difference. In this case, institution were not involved in that. Army has not responded directly, Pakistan to us, and we are not responded directly. We did it attacks on terror
bases.
Places, and we need to. We are not directly openly says that we are not fighting with the Pakistan. We are fighting with the terrorists, and Pakistan is not Pakistan responding to the counter-terrorism in Pakistan. That's why we are fighting. But in case if a full-scale war will come, where the Pakistan counter to India through the western sector or in any other sector, then it will be a war. So, but here now this is operation.
Pakistan's economy also is in a very bad shape. So, is it really possible that a war is, leave aside us, are they in a situation to afford any kind of a war?
But one day before, first day when we started Operation Sindoor, second day IMF gave a $100 billion loan to Pakistan. So this is the dynamics of international dynamics. So your enemy's enemies are a friend. This is one slogan we use it, And in that context, Pakistan get a benefit of that, She rely on China, she rely on US. Now we used to call it US is a strategic partnership with India, but in the same day, on the day when we used Operation Sindoor, first day, second day, she get it a $1 billion, funding from the World IMF. And the IMF also, is a different institution. There is a different procedure in that, but that they get a time, use the time, and on such time where we both nations were in it is likely to be war, but US has not stopped to that funding, and that's a real problem for us.
So how do you see, in case the militarization, what is going on right now, if it keeps on escalating further, what kind of risks does it pose to the economics of India, the economy of India?
In terms of economics, I don't think any problem for through Pakistan, because already we are, we have set rules and norms and order-based security architecture where economy we are putting on proper place, number one. But other hand, day-to-day interaction, particularly Indian population, how they react, that ultimately impacted on us. Take example of Kashmir. If now most of the tourists going in Kashmir, that has helped.
Correct.
But through the fear or through the suspicious mind,
correct,
it was good that has impacted. So that way, a best part of this present crisis, what happened here, most of all political parties, one slogan, they supported the government of India.
Right.
So this is the beauty of Indian population, Indian democracy. All population were together.
Correct.
Like when we won a World Cup, in spite of caste, class, creed,
Correct.
Most of crores of people come on the street and celebrate. So that way, we have a national spirit, and that helps us. But in economic dynamics, I don't think we will have any challenge with this such kind of issue with Pakistan that will impact. No, I don't think so. Unless and until China is involved in that, and China is very smartly playing game with Pakistan as well as India. As long as China is protecting its CPEC, China-Pakistan economic corridor in Pak-occupied Kashmir. China is not involved in that. The moment we hit the target, then China will involve. So government of India is not doing that any kind of action in that area where Chinese interest can be lost.
In case the third front opens up, sometime back we spoke about a third front, or in case if this current situation further escalates, how do you see our preparedness in terms of handling the civil areas around the border? Like we did the drill, the mock drills were conducted everywhere. So how do you see the preparedness that India has in the current times, and what could be the better way of doing it further?
What I feel in terms of civic education in a wartime, we are lacking in that. It's very difficult to give it a civic education, in that context. It is really difficult. But somehow we need to develop now. Most of the state governments coming with the civil defense, particular bordering areas, bordering state. They have to think about it. But in future war, I don't think there is a traditional war. Future war between India and Pakistan will be a nuclear war. And we may have it first strike capability and second strike capability. But that would be a only war. And in that war, what would happen, this is my personal observation, if, take example of 5 weapons Pakistan is dropping and we destroy all 5 weapons in air, and another 6 weapon put somewhere or it hit somewhere, that will be disaster. Ultimately, second strike, when we use second strike capability, it will be no Pakistan on a global map. But when we destroy 5 weapons and 6 drop somewhere in by mistake, then that would be disaster. So this is a real, challenge for us to how to counter nuclear capability. And that context, here China is a key player to how to balance India to the Pakistan. And
which brings me to the next question, sir, is that this constant altercation between India and Pakistan, or the constant focus that India has to pay on Pakistan per se, do you think we are neglecting, or we are forced to neglect the threat that is coming from that side, from Pakistan or from China in this case?
No, in this case, post Galwan and Dokla, we initiated number of policy strategies. We are trying to counter construction of roads is happening, building nearby the border areas, things is developing. Then we are also getting a good modern technology. We initiated our own private companies, and recently, in fact, even what I feel in ISRO and others, in your nuclear technology also, there is a possibility the private actor can involve in that. For that, we need to change the nuclear act. But the moment a private actor will come, the thing will change. And in that context, government of India is doing. But again, see, the defense issue and particular national security issue is a different ball game. You cannot just predict what common man.
Correct.
This is a completely strategic issues, deals with the strategic experts and helm of affairs, those are in armed forces. But somehow we are managing, and we can counter China. But I said, Chinese capability, China's nexus with Pakistan, China's nexus with other state is very important. And that way, particularly how to counter nuclear, we may say that Pakistan is not going to blackmail us in the name of nuclear arsenal. But how China react, how China support to Pakistan, depends on that, it will happen.
Right. So how will this operation impact the use of technology, A, in modern warfare, and B, how will this impact our own military policy or the doctrine that we are using towards the internal security and defense of the nation?
So I said earlier, this is the only operation which can indeed do only 2.5 days.
Correct.
The real new emerging technology. Take example of drone warfare. That changed the mindset. Now, future industry is going to be focused on drone, the production of drones.
Right.
This will be emerge across the globe because it's an unmanned vehicle. There is no loss of human
lives.
capital, and that's why companies will flourish in that way. But this unmanned vehicle has the limitations also. As long as you have a S-400, you can control it there.
Correct.
But the moment you lose that, then it will be difficult. So this is the number of dynamics. But future technology would be a different. I said is accuracy, speed, and a command control communication and intelligence. It's a combination. And that's why it's very important to understand future warfare.
So, coming to the next part, sir, almost towards the end, while on one side we are preparing for military effectiveness, military defense, what do you feel should be the diplomatic measures that now India should exercise in terms of A, building their relations with the neighbors, B, building their relations with members of the Quad, say for example, members of the European Union, for example, or further strengthening their ties with, say, countries like Russia, who have traditionally been supporting us? What would be the diplomatic measures that the country should take?
Diplomatic measure, I said earlier, we are maintaining a strategic autonomy. We are maintaining a balance. We are maintaining a strategic alignment with the developing world. We are securing our national interests. And we are giving a message to the global community that whatever traditional mindset you have in a Cold War period, that should not continue in the present time. Number one. In a internal side, strategic autonomy shaped by internal issues and external constraints. External constraints depends on the external environment, but it's shaped by internal, factors. For example, what kind of you have political will, what kind of you have a strategic will, what kind of you have economic capability, what kind of you have political stability, what kind of you have democratic institutions. So that shapes your strategic autonomy.
Correct.
So that is very important, and some extent from 1947 to till date, we have maintained that strategic autonomy, and we did it. Second question, you said that what about diplomacy?
Diplomacy. Yeah.
Diplomacy, I said earlier, and in G20 we emerge as a voice of South. In United Nations, we are maintaining our stand that we need to be a reform event, reform the UN institutions, because that time has been changed. And presently, Government of India is doing work, but it needs again strengthen. Means if you ask me how we define our core values of national security, that's my core values, our India's core values differ than the US core values. So any threat to US trade, they treat as a threat to their national security. Okay. Any threat to Pakistan religion, they treat as a threat to national security.
Correct.
And for us, in a country like India, any threat to our core values of national constitution, it means territorial integrity, sovereignty, threat to national security.
Right.
So our structure, our democratic structure is very different than others, and that's why it's rooted in our blood, and that's why whenever we take a decision, we are considering, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam or global world. World is
one family.
World is one family, but sometimes it is not practical happening because for slogan itself is good, but what we need, practically, then you need to have develop that practical application. So Sanju, we refer in a military strategist, as a Chinese person, he always says that don't underestimate to your neighbors or underestimate your enemies.
Yeah. Correct.
And in this case, we need to frame our strategy. Don't underestimate neither to Pakistan nor with the Bangladesh nor with the China.
Nor with China.
If you are underestimating Bangladesh and Pakistan, and if you are making slogan and putting that slogan in day-to-day media, then it would be difficult. So what we need to long-term strategy, short-term strategy based on art of war. It's not like the art of war is a complete different. It's not like political issue or so you cannot make people. There's strategic that art of war is completely different.
Correct.
It's not only you cannot make it emotional slow. Some extent it works for the political gain, but not for national interest.
Right.
And that's why needs to develop strategic thinking, and the strategic thinking and very unfortunate. Look at our Indian strategic thinking. Mostly it comes from Delhi sides. Most of the strategic think tanks, strategic thinking are from Delhi side. But the western part, the northern part, the southeast part, northeast part.
Correct.
Very few institutions are developing an ecosystem to understand it as strategic thinking. So we need to develop in that.
Right. In long term, sir, nobody really wants a war. Anybody, if you logically ask anyone, they obviously would prefer peace over war. So, in order to avoid any such situation to come in the future, can any of these, establishments like the UN or these establishments, can they play a role in maintaining this kind of peace? One, and secondly, is there any possibility of any back channel diplomacy opening up any peace talks and smoothing out the issue in this case?
Definitely. In fact, United Nations played a very important role initially. Director General in United Nations, they were part of involved in that. Then somehow UN also trying to maintain that this not escalate the conflict between India and Pakistan. But our stand is that there should be no third party involvement. I said earlier, third party involvement through Shimla agreement. We gave a message to the during the Shimla agreement, while signing a Shimla agreement, that there will be no third party involvement. There's a bilateral agreement.
Correct.
Bilateral discussion. We can resolve all issues, including water issue or any. So some extent now there is no involvement, but some extent you have to involve the institutions, and this institution means who? All the Western power, those who have a veto power in the Security Council.
Right.
France, China, Russia, UK, and US. So this is some extent they are involved in that. But in a G20 or any multilateral organization where India is now maintaining its space and giving a message that we need to reform international institutions in a such way that where we can really talk about global democracy and the sustainable peace, and we are trying it.
Right. And any possibility of any back channel diplomacy reviving peace talks between the two countries, Pakistan and India?
I am not authoritative to say, but already back channel diplomacy started through UAE.
Okay.
UAE played an important role. Qatar played an important role, and then the other players, Saudi Arabia played an important role.
Right.
So these are the strategic point for us where black channel diplomacy is working. But often the government of India cannot take a stand. But back channel diplomacy always helps to connect the people to people, because ultimately we cannot continue war with Pakistan or with China. Ultimately, people to people connect. Peace and tranquility is very important. So dialogue and peace is very important, but not at the cost of national security. We have to maintain the national security, and then we can continue that.
Right. It was fantastic, sir. It was amazing to speak to you. Any last concluding message that you would like to give to our viewers?
My concluding message is that Operation Sindoor or any such kind of events, when it's happened, we are so nationalist. But we should always nationalist. We should always recognize our own community also in a day-to-day life and recognize their work. Then real nationalism can come. Only for as a issue-wise nationalist. When cricket match or a cricket World Cup comes, we all on street. But next day we are fighting to each other.
Right.
So Operation Sindoor comes, we are on the street, but next day we are fighting to each other. So that's not it's we need inclusive development, inclusive approach where we must appreciate our own community, own people, whether they are working in a nation building process or in a farm.
Correct.
So they are all stakeholders.
Correct.
So focus on them and come out with the great pride and great country we have. So that is my message.
Fantastic, fantastic. So I'm sure you have enjoyed this entire episode, this entire discussion. The whole point of this entire episode was to think in retrospective as to what has exactly happened during the Operation Sindoor. We tried to open up different aspects of what kind of impact a war typically has on the economics of a nation, and different aspects of peacekeeping, different aspects of diplomacy. A lot to learn from this episode. Please share this episode with your friends. Like this episode, like our channel. इसको subscribe करिए and please comment. Once you comment, we actually come to know what kind of issues we should bring to you. I will be able to get guests accordingly for you people on this. And thank you so much. Do like, subscribe, and share this episode with everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.